kind of like the next step of the development going to look like in your second full year to start?
Yeah, just a consistency factor. I think going into this season, I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. Try to eliminate the negative plays in all ways, whether it's losing some yards, taking the sack instead of throwing the ball away, or turning the ball over, especially in critical situations like we're in 3rd and goal and we have field goal in our pocket, or we just got the ball back and I'm giving it right back to the defense. I'm trying to eliminate plays like that. So just trying to find that and get hit my reads quicker, communicate with the receivers and figure out what we're trying to do, because we have a couple of new guys, obviously, and we're just all trying to be on the same page. So that's what the spring is for right now.
Speaking of new guys, you built up quite a connection with Isaiah Holden. Just tell me what's like working with him.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Everybody knows that he's from my hometown, so just kind of having that connection, previous to him coming here is super special. Being able to have our parents, both come down, every Saturday this year, who've already shared a relationship, is going to be pretty awesome. So I'm just excited to be playing with him, and having that Nashville bond on the field.
What has Holman Wiggins been like so far as an offensive coordinator? How are things maybe similar or different to Coach Klein's?
Yeah, Coach Wiggins, I think he's a real kind of person's coach. He connects with his receivers, obviously, because he was a previous receivers coach. So it's not hard for him to get a word out to them. And I think that's really what we need. Everybody knows how receivers work, and he can manage that pretty well, along with me managing. So it's just been special having him. I like him calling plays. He's done a really good job so far this spring, and it hasn't really changed much. We just kind of changed a little bit of terminology, maybe a little bit of tweaks in some schemes, but it's going pretty good so far.
Marcel, how much of a factor can Isaiah be, do you think, in your continued growth, and especially when you are in the red zone and things like that?
Yeah, he's going to be a huge factor. I mean, when you have a guy who's 6'3" plus on the outside, where you can throw some one-on-one balls and give those opportunities when they're trying to overload a side in the secondary, that's going to be critical for us, especially like you said in the red zone. And just having a vertical threat like that with speed and size is going to be really good for us.
And you mentioned y'all have some history from Nashville, I guess 7-on-7 and things like that. So have you been able to develop a rapport with him maybe quicker than some of the other new receivers?
Yeah, it's been really good. We've always been able to come back home in the offseason and train together. We've always had it. We've always had me throwing the ball, him catching it. So it's familiar to us. And when we get out on the field, it's just we're just going to have fun while executing.
How have you seen him develop from when y'all were in your 7-on-7 days to when he showed up here now?
Yeah, no, he's developed a lot. I mean, obviously being in college changes a person, and he's gotten bigger, gotten stronger, gotten faster. And I think, one thing about him, he has sure hands. So I can always expect him to catch the ball when it's in his vicinity, and I'll never have to doubt that.
You mentioned trying to eliminate some of the negative plays that you had last year. I'm just curious, if you got maybe a chance to go back and watch the tape, particularly the turnovers late in the season. Was there a common thread you saw in some of those plays that you're trying to improve on in that aspect?
Yeah, I think me being able to make movements in the pocket while keeping my feet at a good base and keeping the throw level is really what's important. A lot of those throws I had sailed over and went over the head of receivers. So just trying to keep those on make on body throws this year is what I'm really trying to focus on.
Curious too, just about what it's like with Joey Lynch, a quarterback coach now, and Elko mentioned he's pretty much strictly quarterbacks, and I'm just curious what you've seen, maybe a benefit in that aspect as well. Yeah,
I think having a legitimate quarterback coach, like you said, is really awesome. He can really focus in on us instead of just the entire offense. He does a really good job in meetings and just trying to point out certain things that we need to work on. And I think my relationship with Coach Lynch is amazing. I go up there and talk ball with him all the time, whether it's just watching practice or talking about extra protection stuff. We have a really good relationship. He was the OC at Vanderbilt when I was in high school, so I used to go up there a lot, when I was a recruit then. So we've had it for a while. So just being able to have him as my coach this year is awesome.
After the benefit of a poll last year starting, you come into this year potential, want to be a leader. How much more comfortable are you now compared to where you were about a year ago?
A lot more comfortable. When you get experience and you've seen things and you're able to tell people, it's just like your parents telling you stuff. You might not want to listen, but they're going to listen eventually when it happens. So me being able to be vocal towards my teammates and them kind of understand through practice and through understanding and just going through it, understanding it, it's really important for me. And I think I've taken a step just being a lot more vocal, having the confidence to be vocal, because I know that people look up and know that I'm going to work my hardest and put my best effort on the field every day.
Does Holman encourage you to run more, or is it just kind of the same approach as it's always been? Because you are a very dynamic runner.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever really encouraged me to run more. They know that I'm going to do it on my own if it comes to it. I think what they have encouraged me to do is make a quick decision. So if I see something pre-snap or just throughout my read, get out of it and scramble the pocket or get to the check down quicker. Sometimes I get outside the pocket and there's people coming at me and I'm looking downfield. If I don't have it, I'm gonna throw it out of bounds. So I think just emphasizing that and, like I said, eliminating those negative plays, taking lost yardages is what's really important.
I know Joey recruited you back when he was at Vanderbilt. What was that kind of like, and just to have that relationship with him these last kind of 5 years?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty cool. I remember when he actually first got to A&M, Coach Elko was introducing all the new coaches, and I was still thinking, like, he was the OC at Vanderbilt, and I just see the guy in the corner. I'm like, why is Coach Lynch here? And then he announced Coach Lynch as a new offensive coach, so helping the running backs. So it was pretty cool to see him. But yeah, when I was in high school, I used to go up to Vanderbilt and visit all the time because it's not too far away from my house. And whenever they had home games, I'd go watch some college football just to do it and be around other recruits out there. So I used to go up and watch film with the Vanderbilt people whenever I could on those visits. So it was just, it's an amazing connection that I've had for a while, and I'm just happy that he's the coach now.
Last spring, go ahead.
I know you, last year, it sounded like you changed your throwing motion a little bit. Is there anything mechanically you've changed this offseason or want to change a little bit?
Yeah, I really didn't change anything up here. I think it's, like I said, just my base, making sure that I kind of finish wide, just making sure I have the rotation, getting the hip through. A lot of quarterbacks leave their back foot back, but I try to get the hip through, create some more spin on the ball. So just doing that and having the whip in my wrist to make sure the ball comes out right every time.
And Marcel, what have you seen from the freshmen wide receivers like Aaron, TK, Matt? Like, it's kind of like talk about like their development as spring motion.
No, guys are becoming comfortable. They're doing a really good job so far. Obviously, it's hard coming into college as an early enrollee and getting in the spring and just learning to install so fast. It's not like high school at all. But they're getting used to the pace and the speed of SEC football, and I think they're doing a really good job for where they've been so far.
Has the game slowed down for you at all? And if so, like, was there a moment you can remember, like, all right, I kind of see this whole picture clear now?
Yeah, the game has slowed down. I think after my first three starts, I think redshirt freshman year is when it kind of started to slow down. When I gained that confidence in that Florida game and then went into the rest of them, I think that's when it happened. And just seeing everybody else have the confidence in me as well just calmed me down.
Last spring, you shared some personal goals that you had for yourself for the upcoming year. I'm just curious if you set any personal goals this offseason, some markers that you're trying to reach.
Yeah, I'll probably get back to y'all. I definitely wrote them down. They're sitting in my drawer, my dresser. But yeah, definitely, completion percentage, still trying to get that up a little bit. Obviously have some yards that, I want to achieve this year. I obviously want to shoot for that Heisman again and the SEC championship and the national championship as well.
Remember last year you talked about you watching a lot of film on guys like Lamar Jackson. I wonder if you watch anyone new, especially as you're working on your throwing motion, just kind of try to model or something.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. I really like, the quick decision making that Jaden Daniels makes and how he gets out of the pocket. Also, Jalen Hurts, I just like how he directs the field and how he's such a field general.
You mentioned Holland's kind of a player's coach, a person coach. What are maybe some examples of that? How does he kind of relate to y'all?
Yeah, I think it's always good when you have a coach who has been in the environment of a bunch of other great coaches. Obviously, Coach Wiggins has a history of being at Bama with Coach Saban, Coach Sark, all those people. And he's also played the game, so he understands it and how to coach his players. So he definitely gets on us when we need it, but everybody understands, the reason why. And I think that's really what's important.
What do you think the best version of Marcel Reed in 2026 looks like?
I think just a confident Marcel Reed. I think that's the word, a confident Marcel Reed. There's really nothing I don't believe I can do. So just going into every single game and playing to the best of my ability and trying my best to be consistent and lead this team the right way is how I think you're going to see the best Marcel Reed.
Is there something you learned about yourself or just the environment of being late in the season when you're on a playoff run? There's a Heisman campaign that you can maybe carry over to success this next season?
I don't really think I learned too much about myself. I've been the same person all my life. I don't think I ever get too up, get too down. I'm a really mellow person, and I don't really let anything get to me. I'm not too much of an emotional person. Whenever things are going great. Whenever things are going bad, so what? Hopefully tomorrow comes, and you get to do it all over again. So just try not to make the same mistake twice, and keep living.
It seems like in the practices we've watched, we maybe only had one turnover at a time. It seems like you've really taken care of the football. Is that something you've noticed? Is it gotten easier from that standpoint? And why do you think that might be?
That's the goal, not to turn the ball over. That's the plan to win in the meeting room. It's the first thing that we have, win the turnover battle. So as long as the offense take care of the ball and the defense creates turnovers, I think we're going to win every game.